Oh, Mercury, how you put us through so many troubles. Hi, what's up, witches? It's Luna here with a look at the Libra Ingress chart. Ingress means something moving into a sign. So this is the sun's ingress into Libra, which is the autumn equinox. I clicked record and I took a breath to say a word and had to start over that fast. So, yes, we are still with Mercury retrograde as we go into officially the fall season. I will say that this occurs on the 22nd, Thursday, at 9:03 p.m. in the Eastern Time Zone. So looking at this chart, going down to the graphs here, we can see we have a pretty strong Capricorn chart signature, predominance of Earth and Cardinal. That means practicality and initiation, getting things started on a practical level, executive ability. We can see too we have a pretty big lack of water here, but that can be okay. That just means we're not really emotionally reactive. But a strong cardinal chart signature, cardinal is reactive. It's just not emotionally. All right, let's start with the sun. Here it is at 0 degrees and 0 minutes of Libra, exactly conjuncting Mercury. It's 30 minutes apart of this retrograde Mercury. So Sun-Mercury conjunction just means that we really want to talk about what we're here for, our own creative expression. We want to put that into words. We really want to verbally express ourselves. And in Libra, it's in a kind way. I think the last chart that I did, I talked about, is it true, is it kind, will it help filters, and those filters apply here too, because we have this Sun Mercury conjunction opposing Jupiter. It is applying because Jupiter is retrograde, so we will count it, and that just means we can go overboard with things. Now, looking at Jupiter itself, it's sitting here in Aries, and one of the things that I forgot to say in my last chart reading is that Jupiter in Aries or Jupiter in aspect to Mars is sometimes known as the pompous ass position, because Aries is arrogant. Aries has no lack of self-esteem, and when you put Jupiter, the expander, in Aries, we can just get a really overblown sense of self-worth. And when we put it in opposition to the Sun and Mercury, that stuff can come flying out of our mouths. And Jupiter too, can be pedantic sometimes, just knowledge for knowledge's sake. And with Jupiter in Aries opposing Mercury and the Sun, we can really just want to spout off about how much we know about things in a very pompous way. So please, oh please, oh please, apply those filters and think before you speak. With the Sun-Mercury conjunction in Libra, it does help some, because we are thinking about the other person and how they are going to receive what we're saying. But with Jupiter pulling on the other end in Aries, it can just, make it so we've gone too far before we even think to shut up. So keep that in mind. Now I want to call your attention here to this Saturn-Uranus square that we have been dealing with for the longest time. And I want to talk about it again because this does resonate not just personally but culturally, since we've been under it for so long. This is the struggle between the old and the traditional, the dogmatic, the calcified, the codified. That's Saturn, things that are, set in stone. Uranus, the awakener, is the thing that is here to update, to innovate, to blow up, literally blow things up so that we can start again. It's the Tower card in the Tarot. So looking at this personally, we really need to look at that struggle within ourselves of the traditional, the safe way, the road well traveled versus the road less traveled. The difference right now with this aspect is that we also have Mars trining Saturn, and this really gives us some help, because when you've got Saturn and Uranus tugging against each other the way they are, and Uranus is the stronger planet here because it actually rules Saturn, as Saturn is sitting in Aquarius, Uranus's sign. So Uranus is really leading the way here, and I mean they're both retrograde right now, so this does work on a more internal impractical level. So we can be experiencing this as just a high degree of frustration, that there's inner turmoil and we can't get it to move and shift and move forward. Saturn can also bring in a lot of fear about moving forward, especially retrograde. So, we're dealing with upheaval all over the planet, and we're feeling this rocking and rolling internally. So what do we do here? Well, we've got Mars trining Saturn. Trines give ease and flow. It makes the energies more easy to use. Thank God Mars is direct. So Mars trining Saturn gives us the motivation to and the energy to kind of nudge things forward, whereas Saturn can feel like we've just got something dragging at our heels and unable to move forward. Mars trining there gives us a little bit of impetus. Now Mars is in Gemini, which makes it easy to scatter those energies, that we are spending energy in a variety of ways but not really focusing on one thing, the plan to move forward. So Saturn can help Mars in that way. Both of those being in air signs says we can do this mental work of devising a plan, putting energy into those Gemini pursuits of thinking things through, making lists of things. What is it that I want to accomplish? How do I think the best way forward would be? So Mars in Gemini here working with Saturn can help us structure the way forward. And then, the Uranian energy is looking way towards the future, structuring the way forward as far as what is going to happen, how are we going to make it new. And internally, we really need to look at our thoughts. What is our default setting as far as where our thoughts go? Your default settings are in your natal chart. For instance, I have Mercury in Virgo, Mercury representing the mind. You would also want to look to the third house ruler in your natal chart for how your mind works. But Mercury in general, in Virgo, my mind analyzes. I pick things apart and I worry over them, and round and round and round, and I'm all about process and how do we do things more efficiently. And but I can be very prone with that Mercury conjuncting Pluto to get into obsessive thinking about those things. I will have things preying on my mind that just will not let me go. So depending on how your mind works, this, looking at it generally as far as the global population, this talks about how we can look at how easily we can change our minds about things. Because the Mars in Gemini, Uranus in Taurus are calling us to wake up in terms of our mindset. And Saturn there says we've got some seriously old mindsets that are about to collapse, and we need to address these things. In the discipline of neuro-linguistic programming, known as NLP, it basically teaches you how to reprogram the computer of your brain. And we do this by acknowledging how we are particularly wired, how we store our information, and that can then tell us how we can most easily change the programming that's in our personal computer. So looking at your thoughts, what role does fear play right now? And when fears come up in your mind, how do you deal with them? Do you shove them to the back? Do you go into denial? Both of those things would be Saturn type things. Do you explode? Do you, experience frustration? Are you able to work your way through these thoughts? Are you able to recognize which thoughts serve you and which ones don't? So the way we think can, be very much influenced by our emotions, and that also will be reflected in your natal chart. But the main point here is to start looking at how your personal computer works and how easily you are able to change your mindset. Because that Saturn-Uranus square says we're really frustrated right now because we've got these two things conflicting with each other, but what we're called to do is change our mindset. Uranus ruling Aquarius is all about how we think, how we represent things to ourselves mentally. And as I was talking about NLP, the cardinal rule of NLP is the person with the greatest capacity for change wins. Change begins with the mind. Edgar Cayce said the mind is the builder. The thought is the first thing that happens with everything, everything that we decide to do, the plans for our lives. It's all about that initial thought. So when we first discover how our minds work, then we can work with our minds, and we can go in and say, these thoughts don't serve me. These thoughts take me into a fear mindset. When I'm running these patterns of old programs of fear, I can become conscious of those, and then I can find a way out of them. So Libra season here, and we can look at this as being the entire season of autumn. We can look at it as just Libra season as well. Both apply here. So we want to look at how we can express ourselves without going overboard, how we can generate more understanding of those who oppose us. There's that Jupiter, Sun, Mercury opposition again. And then with the Saturn, Mars, okay, now how can I take the first steps in changing old calcified thinking patterns and updating them into patterns that do serve me, into optimism becoming a habit, into just the ability to recognize my thoughts rather than them just being in the background and influencing me without me consciously being aware of them. So those are things I'm looking at. We also have, let's see here, Neptune opposing Venus. So with a Jupiter opposition to the Sun, that can cause us to go overboard as far as the things that we say, what comes out of our mouths. Neptune opposing Venus absolutely can talk about getting lost in pleasure, losing ourselves in escapism and things that make us feel good. So we have to be very, very conscious that we are not doing things and putting things into our bodies that are going to cause us more harm than the escape is worth. Okay, so be very aware of that. Neptune is the dissolver. It dissolves boundaries. You get lost in things. It's escapism. Venus is things that feel good. So please be aware of that. It'd be very, very easy to go overboard with indulgence in things that make us feel good, things that we like. Pluto is in conjuncting the moon, and this is an important aspect because inconjuncts call us to reevaluate. They say that something needs to be adjusted in the relationship between the two planets involved. The moon is, of course, how we emotionally react to things, how we receive life. Moon is in Leo for Libra season and for autumn. So emotions become personal and they become dramatic. So we can really take a lot of things personally and feel feelings about them when they really don't pertain to us personally. Pluto is the transformer, and it talks about dominance and force and things that are intense. So let's see here. The moon is also your sense of security. So we need to adjust between what makes us feel secure and becoming forceful about that or becoming obsessed with that. Before I clicked record, of course, I had a very clear thought about this, and now it has completely blasted out of my brain. But we need to adjust between what makes us feel secure and really how far we're willing to go in order to feel that security. Because Pluto in Capricorn, we've lived it for how long now, is really about force and dominance and the old way and getting dictatorial about things. So we really need to be able to loosen up here and recognize when our emotions are just, we're giving them too much power over us. They're causing us to try to force things on other people just because it'll help us feel more secure. So think about that. Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about here. The other trine that I see here is too far out of aspect, as is the trine to Pluto, so I'm not going to talk about those. Anyway, through this season, and retrograde season. We've got all these planets retrograde still. So it's internal. Look at your own thoughts. How are they serving me? What is the quality of them? How accessible are they to me in terms of being able to change them, adjust them? To be able to change your mind is one of the most powerful things. What is the definition of magic? The most widely accepted definition: the art of changing consciousness at will. In order to change consciousness at will, you need to become conscious of your thoughts and what's going on. What are the background programs that are running? How are they affecting me? And look at how I can become conscious. Number one, that's Uranus, and then Mars giving us that impetus to change the structure of our thinking. This is habits, you guys. Moon also rules habits. So let's look at Libra season as how we can be very much more aware of our conversations, but also aware of the thoughts that generate those conversations, and what we can do as far as developing new habits of mind to move us forward in a way that is Libra-ish. So peaceful, diplomatic, and motivated by negotiation and coming to agreement, coming to resolution. I hope that was helpful and useful to you in some way. Please let me know what you think down below. What do you see in this chart that maybe I didn't see, or what inspiration did you get from the things that I said that might in turn inspire me? Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I will see you very soon. Until then, this is Luna. Blessed be.